I'm a little rusty on it.
I'll hum it for you.
Good morning, good afternoon, and hello to anybody out there watching. Welcome to my channel. My name is Josh. It is September 30th, 2022, and there is news, if you can believe it, ladies and gentlemen. There is news. So, let's get right into it. Yeah, so you might have seen from the title, breaking news. Russia being a bit, how do I put it? Cringe. But let's take a look. Alrighty. A defiant Putin proclaims Ukrainian annexation, vows to win war. So, we are, God, how many months in now? And somehow this is still ongoing. From everything I've seen, Ukraine has done a phenomenal job of pushing back the Russian forces, which we absolutely support the Ukrainian people here on this channel. But yeah, let's see what Putin had to say. I'm not gonna watch the video. Actually, you know what? Let's watch the video. Why not?
President Vladimir Putin on Friday will begin formally annexing parts of Ukraine. Moscow's Red Square was closed to the public ahead of the ceremony, where banners read Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, Kherson, Russia. Moscow plans to annex those four Ukrainian regions, 15% of the country's total area, or the size of Hungary or Portugal. But just how Russia would mark the annexation was unclear. The Kremlin did not say whether Putin would attend the Red Square concert, as he did a similar event in 2014 after Russia proclaimed annexed Ukraine's Crimea region. Spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Putin would, however, make a speech inside the Kremlin.
So, whoa. Now I'm in frame. Okay. So, yeah. They have begun to annex territory, which is something I wouldn't say that I would have expected, considering how kind of boned they've been this entire time. I'm only a bit shocked, but at the same time, I can't say this is wholly out of Putin's activities as of late. Actually, let me expand this really quick, guys. Notice that's there we go. That's probably a bit better, right? That's probably a bit better, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, all right. So, oh my God, Zaporizhia, dude. How do people? Okay, Ukraine, September 30th. A defiant Vladimir Putin proclaimed Russia's annexation of a swath of Ukraine in a pomp-filled Kremlin ceremony, promising Moscow would triumph in its special military operation against Kiev, even as some of his troops face potential defeat. So, not only on the actual war front, but at home in terms of conscription, we've seen Russian citizens basically nope right out of getting conscripted into war. We've seen what's the word? We've seen officers get shot right in the face for trying to pull more troops into the ground forces, and Russia, quite frankly, has been doing a shit job of invading a rather small country compared to theirs. So things are not going well. Russian president proclaimed Russia rule over 15% of Ukraine, the biggest annexation in Europe since World War II, was roundly rejected by Western countries, with the United States and Britain announcing new sanctions. Well, kind of no shit. We do live in a different time. We do live in an era where you just don't annex territory. That's kind of an old world thing that it seems like Putin has kind of not gotten. Uh, it's a bit of something I think we all understand is kind of not kosher anymore. But anyway, let's continue. It comes as Russian forces in one of the 4 regions being annexed, base being encircled by Ukrainian troops after Putin ordered a massive mobilization drive to get hundreds of thousands of Russian men to the front. In one of his toughest anti-American speeches in more than 2 decades in power, Putin signaled he was ready to continue what he called a battle for, quote, greater historical Russia, slammed the West as neo-colonial. Right, okay. As neo-colonial and as out to destroy his country, and without evidence accused Washington and its allies of blowing up the Nord Stream gas pipeline. So, let's talk about this really quickly. Greater historical Russia. This right here, this is just a pretext. This is a very classic fascist talking point where basically what you want to do is you want to build up the history of your country or your land or your people or whatever and pit them against the world as much as you can to pretty much motivate your population to fight anybody, because at the end of the day your ability to, like, their ability to survive as citizens, you want to fuel your war effort. So, slam to West is neo-colonial. I mean, yeah, I would mostly agree with that statement. Also, neo-colonial is, and I'm gonna be really, really straightforward with this, is better than what Putin is doing. Because what Putin is doing is invading a country, murdering people, and bombing the living hell out of it, and overall trying to forcibly take territory. Neocolonialism generally, and in the way that the West and a lot of other Western aligned countries, the way neocolonialism generally works is you invest in countries, you station businesses there. It's a lot of economics, and it's a lot of, is it similar? Absolutely, because a lot of it, what you're doing is you're implanting a lot of your economic values and a lot of your economic, forwarding your economic goals. But here's the difference. There is, assuming that that said country being neo-colonialized has elections and is a democracy, people still are able to vote. People aren't being bombed. This is just kind of one of those, 2 things are bad, one is markedly worse than the other. And really, it's, it's the pot telling the kettle it's black. I mean, it's, or however that phrase goes. I think that's how that phrase goes. Let's see, destroy this country without evidence. Washington, yeah, whatever. I'm not really concerned. I've heard about this. I haven't looked into it. We'll look into it another day. 4 Ukrainian regions that Russia was absorbing had made an historic choice. He said, they have made a choice to be with their people, their motherland, to live with its fate, and to triumph with it. Truth is on our side. Russia is with us. Putin told his country's political elite, who had gathered in one of the Kremlin's grandest halls to watch him sign the annexation documents. So this again is just complete bullshit. There is no choice. So the regions, I'm not, okay, yeah. So the regions in Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia. Jeez, okay. Okay, I see how that, okay. Yeah, they're, you cannot choose. That's not a thing that a conquered people can choose. You know what I'm saying? Like, there isn't, Putin's doing a classic, we conquered them, they're now part of us, and they're really happy to have been conquered. That's not really a thing. Most of the time, people who, there are people who I'm sure in those regions are pro-Russia. I can almost guarantee you they're not a majority, nor would it matter if they are. At the end of the day, if they want to be, if individuals want to be Russian, they can move right over the fucking Russia. But no, Russia does not get to invade another sovereign nation. People living in Luhansk, those regions, are becoming our compatriots forever, said Putin, referring to the regions that he said Russia was annexing. We will defend our land with all our strength and all our means, he said, calling on the Kiev regime to immediately cease hostilities and return to the negotiation table. So again, this is, I mean, I think we all understand what's happening here. You know, they are he's trying to reignite his nation into continuing this fight, and you know, this Kiev regime, you know, cease hostilities while please stop resisting our invasion. We'd really appreciate that. Come and negotiate with us, even though they just annexed pieces of territory and they're asking for time at the negotiation table. So understand that's where they're kind of coming from, in the kind of bullshit position that they're in. He said the United States had set a precedent when it had dropped 2 atomic bombs in Japan in 1945, but stopped short of issuing new nuclear warnings against Ukraine itself, something he has done more than once in recent weeks. Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, as you are, you know, when you are a nuclear power like Russia, and you're a, quite frankly, a madman like Putin, it shouldn't come to any shock to any of us that this guy is, you know, bringing up, is not saying, you know, I'm not talking about nukes. I just want everyone to understand that the U.S. set the precedent when it comes to nuke usage. That, I like, what that has to do with anything? Absolutely nothing. It's just a way for him to threaten nukes without threatening nukes. That's kind of all that really is. Let's see. Yeah, we've seen, and Putin's been doing that in recent weeks. I'm sure you've seen headlines of them talking about nuclear war. This is kind of what you do when you're in a desperate position. You can script as many people as you can, and you threaten probably the one big move you have, the one big action that you can take that would really would intimidate anybody. Ceremony culminated in a 69-year-old leader chanting "Russia, Russia" as he clasped the hands of Russian-backed officials. He wants to run the annexed region. Okay, those are his generals, basically, which Ukraine is fighting to win back. You know, I'm gonna be a gamer right here, but this just sounds like basically the lead up. Does anybody else think this sounds like basically the intro of any Far Cry campaign? Maybe I'm just a gamer, but thousands of people, some of them clutching Russian flags, then packed into Moscow's Red Square to hear celebratory pop music. I wonder what they played. Putin told the crowds victory will be ours. Sure it will. Oh yeah, like I can already see this in like a Far Cry game. It's got like a red filter. They've got like little, like, you know, sketches over these guys' faces and which region they control and who you gotta take out first. So yeah, I can already see that. Ukraine NATO bid. Let's see. U.S. President Joe Biden condemned what he called Russia's fraudulent attempt to annex sovereign Ukrainian territory and said new U.S. sanctions would hurt those who provided political or economic support to the annexation drive. NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg, I'm assuming that's like Jens, maybe? I don't know. Called on Putin to end a war he had started while Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he was only ready for peace talks if and when Russia got a new president. I'd say that's fairly fair. Yeah. He also announced that Ukraine was formally applying for fast-track membership of the NATO military alliance, something Moscow fiercely opposed and accused Russia of redrawing borders, quote, using murder, blackmail, and mistreatment and lies. Yeah, that sounds, yeah, that's, so a lot of the, what's the word? A lot of the, I always fail to find the exact word I'm looking for. A lot of the interpersonal conflict between Putin and Zelensky has been the NATO talks. Putin a lot of times has referenced Ukraine's joining of NATO as a inciting incident or an inciting possibility to lead to the war and everything that we're seeing today. Um, this should be taken pretty much as it is, in which Ukraine has every right to build whatever alliance it wants. They are a sovereign nation. They are not a part of Russia, except for these parts that they think they are. Um, but there is absolutely 100% no like no qualms about it. They get to pick who they're allied with. That's kind of how this stuff works. So, for what it is. Let's see. However, that Kiev remained committed to the idea of coexistence with Russia on equal, honest, and dignified, fair conditions. Yeah, that's okay. That's pretty normal stuff. Clearly, with the Russian president, it is impossible. He does not know what dignity and honesty are. Therefore, we are ready for a dialogue with Russia, but with another president of Russia. Basically, this is shutting down you get negotiations as long as Putin is in power, which, I mean, quite frankly, negotiations would be kind of wouldn't be worth the paper it was even written on, so it's not a great loss. Ukraine and the West have condemned referendums that Moscow held in the 4 Ukrainian regions and said showed big majorities to join Russia as illegal shams. Even if they are, those people can just move. Several dozen Ukrainians interviewed by Reuters in the last week said that only people they described as, quote, Russian collaborators have voted, with most people boycotting them. Russian forces nearly surrounded. In Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region, Russia's garrison in the town of Liman was in serious trouble on Friday, with reports from both sides saying Russian forces were nearly surrounded. Ukraine said it had all the supply routes to the Russian stronghold in the crosshairs of its artillery in the east, and told Moscow it would have to appeal to Kiev if it wants its forces to be allowed out. The encircled could leave Ukrainian forces an open path to seize more territory in Luhansk and Donetsk, provinces captured earlier in some of the war's bitterest fighting. Retired U.S. I don't give a fuck. Psychological aspect of this potential. Okay, I don't care about that. Let's see the war's brutality. Yeah. Let's see. Reuters saw it doesn't. Yeah. Oh, obviously people are kind of dying. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this. I mean, this is basically people are dead and they cover them up. Yeah. So Russia still kind of at it. I'm not really 100% sure how this is going to go. I mean, there is, I know a lot of people are, I think justifiably concerned in terms of what this means from a World War standpoint. Will we be living through Battlefield 5? Hopefully not. Sometime soon. I fail to see a world where Russia uses nukes. It would be, to say the least, pretty fucking stupid. But I also can't say that it's impossible. I don't think anybody should be super concerned about that. I think there have been times since since the 1940s that we have been definitely closer to that. It's really going to depend on how it's really going to depend on how all the nuke talk goes, and specifically the NATO conversation. So, if NATO feels that they have a strong enough hand in that, Russia won't attempt to fire their nukes if Ukraine join NATO, then, I mean, it's complicated. It's complicated. But I would, I am no foreign policy expert. I don't pay as much attention as I should to world news. Hey, you should follow if you want me to cover more world news, because then I can spend more time looking at it, and I can also stream more. Just saying, follow Josh on Twitch, also on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, it's, we are where we are now. So I mean, support to the people of Ukraine. Uh, that's all one can really do right now. And seems like the war is going to continue. So, which is kind of crazy. I thought we were past that sort of stuff. But anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and let me reset really quick, and then we'll get right into the other stories for the day. So, be back in a moment. All right, welcome back. All right, thank you for hanging out for a second. All right, so I think I kind of rearranged the order a little bit. So, sticking with fascism, let's take a look at a channel that I originally subbed to and then didn't, because I just, I could get into it about this channel, but we will, for now, just let it be. We're going to cover some of these in the future. But yeah. So let's take a look at. Can you guess what it is? Can you guess? I bet you can't, since I don't watch that much. It's Breaking Points or Crystal and Saga. So I watched these guys when they were on the hill. I didn't. I'm not gonna sit here and say like I didn't like their content. I did think they put out really good content, but as I kind of continue to watch it, I had issues. But we're gonna watch this. I saw this and I saw a bit of it, so I did pre-watch a bit. I'm sorry. But either way, we're gonna watch this because it sounded, from what I heard of it, it sounded kind of ridiculous. So sticking with fascism, because Putin is a fascist, and this Italy election just happened. Let's take a look at this.
All right, Saga, what are you looking at?
Well, something I'm obsessed with is the law of unintended consequences. And a force is so big that they direct the course of history. both on the
Oh.
individual but on the macro level.
Hi there,
It's actually
Pandora Mass
humbling often
123.
to realize when you pull up at the pump or if you run a small business to know, from an individual agency point of view, you really don't have anything that you can do. Sometimes you simply have to pay the high price or accept lower revenue and just try and make things work. That is the reality of life for most people. It becomes historical, though, when those forces manifest at a bigger level. When enough people get pissed off, they sometimes do some crazy stuff. And across the pond in Europe, we are seeing a preview.
I'll be sure not to mess with any of your boxes or crates or any other square-shaped items.
Perhaps just like last time, of a harbinger of insanity on our shores. Obviously, I've spent hours on the show diving into the European energy crisis. But what I want to underscore for folks in the back, here in the east coast of the US, it's already getting cold, which means it's been getting colder in Europe for weeks now. Germany's natural gas demand over the weekend rose above both 2021 and 2020 levels.
Yeah, I find I mostly want to cover this because I find that the populist label is a bit too usually is a bit too lenient toward quite frankly fascism, but also just a bit too lenient toward I just think negative consequences, because it's always thank you, that's sort of, it's overly broad. It's like, populism, the thing that people generally agree with. It's like, well, a lot of people can generally agree with something and that thing still be incorrect. Like, but let's see what he has to say.
Result of colder than expected weather. That comes as Germany faces the historical natural gas shortage with its cutoff from Russia and energy prices skyrocketing to unheard of levels on the continent.
Makes sense.
All over Germany, there are tales of businesses or households facing historic energy bills. A recent one featured on German public radio told the story of a family in Brandenburg whose monthly bill was increased to 1,500 euros a month from a previous 143 euros. The reality is sinking in across the continent, and ramifications are becoming clear. In London, financial analyst Bill Blaine is writing in a now viral column, quote, "This winter, people are going to die of cold. As the price of energy becomes higher, the costs will fall disproportionately amongst the poorest in society. Income inequalities will be dramatically exposed as the vulnerable in society face a stark choice."
So, I'm also just going to add really quickly that there is solutions to these things, and there are things you can do about this. It's called socialism. But also, there's just, aside from a broad systemic change, this stuff is really complicated, and I won't say I'm like an expert on the energy crisis going on, but obviously the war in Ukraine and Russia and everything else has really impacted them. But I mean, so far, that's kind of the effect of war. That's why a lot of people and a lot of officials want the war to stop, because these things are affecting their population negatively. But yeah.
Eat or eat. But then Blaine asks a deeper question, and that one brings us to the point of this monologue. Quote, "That has all kinds of social consequences. Can you imagine how those in France will react ahead of the French elections in April? What about the prospects for riots as fuel prices hit the poorest communities and ethnic groups in the UK?" Blaine continues that beyond the tragedy of the acute crisis...
I do think this is a bit catastrophizing. I understand that these sorts of things are possibilities, but it's a bit catastrophizing to talk about riots and everything else. This is not to say that Europe is immune to riots. They have mass protests, much larger and more or at least more frequent large ones, and a little bit more focused ones here than in the U.S. just because their populations have a little bit more of a collective bent than us. But I don't know if I mean, they'll see major protests. To call them riots is a bit much. I would say right-wing populism punches upwards, right-wing and perceived cultural elites, and sideways or downwards toward poor people. And it's basically a petty bourgeois ideology. Left-wing populism aligns with the middle working class and the poor. Yeah, I mean, the most right-wing populism can't quite focus, like, at least here in the U.S. I would definitely agree. At least here in the U.S., they get really distracted by culture issues, which has been a tactic by the elites, kind of on both sides, but also very much on the right. to continue to let them stay in that class. So I mean, it's, you know, a lot of times, you know, you'll see right wing people, you know, during like labor movements in the 20s, I believe, there was a lot of resentment that that bosses would drive wedges in between black and white workers so that they wouldn't be able to unionize and get together. So yeah, it's, you know, the at the end of the day, and also, I mean, the right wing in the U.S. is also basically completely captured by elites, whereas left wing the left wing of this country, there is the center left, which is definitely captured by elites and moneyed interests. But there is a very large, very vocal and strong contingent of left wing folks like probably you, Pandora, and myself, who live in basic apartments and just want the world to be a bit better. But let's hear how this. Let's keep going with
the
it.
winter is the broader social implication across the entire European continent. And I'm beginning to wonder if the energy crisis precipitated by the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the now locked in policy by the West of its sanctions regime, if Europe is not unintentionally spurring a mass populist uprising for the years to come. First, let's start in Sweden, which actually is about to enter NATO. You're seeing
Wait
a
a second.
pushback
Okay,
against
wait,
the
wait.
mass populist uprising for the years to come. West of its sanctions regime. If Europe
One second.
If the energy crisis precipitated by the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the now locked in policy by the West of its sanctions regime, if Europe is not unintentionally.
This is okay. So this is my immediate problem with it, is because this is a false equivalency between sanctions and starting a war. Because at the end of the day, all of the European countries that we're talking about have to respond somehow to Ukraine being invaded. So you can't sit there and go, "Oh, well, they have a sanctions regime." Like, yeah, that's kind of what you do. They're actually taking a hit on themselves to help defend Ukraine. So I don't know what this is where it's like, "Oh, they have a sanction regime," and you know, meanwhile Russia's like invading, and these two things are equal. They're not. Russia at any point could turn their ass back around, and boom, just like that, everything will go back to normal. There'd probably be some negotiations, there'd be other things, but like you like, you know, at the end of the day, one is contingent on the other, and they aren't existing in vacuums. And I don't like that framing.
Spurring a mass populist uprising for the years to come. First, let's start in Sweden, which actually is about to enter NATO. You're seeing a pushback.
Right-wing populism can be fascistic, not necessarily. I don't think necessarily. I think American right-wing populism is fascist specifically. There's obviously a fine line between blaming out out of touch liberal elites for abandoning the working class and blaming Jews for pitting blacks against whites. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. Like at the end of the day, liberals, their goal is to keep things exactly where they like. What, 1995? I'll say. You know, the Clinton years. That's what they like, and they have fought to keep us in 95. As much as I love the 90s, I'm a 92 kid, but no, like as much as I love the world continues. Whereas the right wing has been constantly fighting to pull everyone into like the Reagan years in the 80s. So that's the big difference. Liberals, I believe, want to keep us in this exact moment around the Clinton-Obama era and never fucking move. You know, their goal is to stay where they are because they benefit the most when things stay the same. And at the end of the day, they're on the top, you know, during that time. So that's, you know, whereas the right wing, you know, they've been fighting for all of my life to take us back to the 80s and, quite frankly, take us back to the dark ages in some respects.
Against the Euro consensus. The right-wing party there bagged a historic victory in the latest election the last couple of weeks with a similar uprising against the Euro-liberal consensus on immigration, religion, crime, and environmentalism. The Sweden far-right party promised to loosen environmental regulations to lower the cost of energy prices and made it a centerpiece of their campaign right alongside its social crusade. The signs were also clear in Italy last night. Social discontent spurred Giorgia Meloni to the forefront of politics after her party just garnered 4% of the vote only 4 years ago. How does that happen? Well, she is capitalizing on growing discontent around mass immigration, the energy crisis, social liberalism, and EU interference from Brussels. I am not going to sit here and claim that her rise has all to do with energy prices per se. Italy, after all, has always been a mess, especially since its inception as a state. But Italy is a leading indicator on these matters, has been for years. The raucous uprising of Rome could come to Berlin, London, and Paris in the not too distant future.
So
in the Czech Republic, we're seeing
this is also a thing that conservatives usually seize on, which is when there are hardships in the world, when there are things that are happening that kind of would happen no matter what, and that there's not, the what is her name? Whoever they elected in Italy, I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but at the end of the day, party leaders like that will promise to bring down energy costs because at the end, it's a good strategy to run on electorally. You should be doing that, but a lot of the energy crisis isn't caused by as much of individual countries' policies, so much as, again, it's with Russia and Ukrainian conflict happening. That's a lot of that's contributing to a lot of this crisis. So it's kind of a thing where it's like you can promise that, but will that actually, like, will you actually be able to manipulate that when you're in power, those prices? I'm skeptical. Most of the time what you see is conservatives run on economics, govern on culture. At least that's what we see in the US. I don't know how similar that is to Sweden. I only have really one connection to Sweden, and that's I worked for IKEA for 4 years. So I don't really think that's not, I don't have any kind of like super great lens for Sweden specifically, or Italy. I mean, I think my ex lived in Italy for a while and their economy seemed fucked, but their entire government seems fairly corrupt, so they've got a lot of problems going on. But the point is it's just, I'm not, generally that's what I notice, is it's always run on economics, govern on culture. Clinton Democrats stayed the same, but they've gotten more progressive on criminal. Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, I would say the same applies to some conservatives with things like Trump supporting the First Step Act. Yeah, I mean, he's got to do something to appeal to independents. I mean, you gotta, support deregulation for energy independence. Yeah, I'd mostly agree with that.
interesting signs too. The far-right Freedom and Direct Democracy Party, for the first time, is coming.
To be clear, I'm not some energy expert, but all makes sense to me, what you said.
In second in the latest round of political polls. That puts them ahead of the ruling coalition in charge. The party's rise is almost single-handedly because of social discontent around energy prices and around the government's policy in Ukraine. Slovakia, too, seeing discontent. Recent protests in the country's capital around energy prices and a weird position. It's both a NATO and EU state, but half of its population does not believe that Russia actually attacked Ukraine, and they mainline Kremlin propaganda. In fact, polls in the country indicate that the former USSR country, that more Slovaks actually trust Russians than Americans, and the main opposition is taking notice. They are blasting the government's EU support, lobbying against Russian sanctions. The signs are everywhere. 3 days ago, thousands of people in Brussels took the streets to protest high energy prices. In France, right now, the support amongst the population for, quote, unconditional sanctions against Russia now stands nationally at only 40%. It dropped 6% in a single month. In Germany, less than half of those in the former Soviet eastern part of the country even support sanctions in the first place. All signs point to an opposition increase on energy prices. We are gliding into the path of the very unknown, and given recent trends, we should bet some crazy stuff might happen. Sanctions policy.
Some crazy stuff might happen. Possibly World War III? I don't know. Whenever Sagar says some crazy stuff may happen, I get a bit worried that that's kind of like a, hey, look, like the fascists might round some people up. I don't know what to tell you. Some people got a little crazy. Like, no, the crazy stuff happening is not a thing you want to kind of like just throw your hands up and go, well, what are you gonna do? Actually, pretty sure. I do believe he did increase his margin. I don't know if it was a number that was significant, because he did get a lot more votes. So I feel like I would have to see like what the if that's really just a product of more votes, more black voters, if that mattered all that much. But he might have. I don't. I mean, Trump is like probably a mild racist. Probably doesn't hate black people. He probably doesn't like prefer them either. And Scott's close conservatives has towards the African. Yeah, pretty much.
Policy at this point is not going to change. Putin's recent mobilization guarantees that. And that means we now get to watch a massive transformation on the continent. One thing is certain: it won't be the same again. And the effects of the sanctions policy, which almost no one actual thought went into, it's going to have major ramifications for years to come. I think that's all I can really take away. I don't know what's going to happen, but politics on the continent are changing.
Cable news is.
Yeah, they are. There is kind of a war. There's a lot of things that are extrapolating from that. I think overall, I find Sagar usually to be just a bit too lenient towards fascist movements. Mainly because I think he has a general support toward I think like people and like individuals, and I think to him he's like, well, I see all these people upset, and I think them being upset is legitimate, therefore I support them. And like, while I understand that that reaction, I don't necessarily agree, because you can kind of get led by the nose very easily by fringe movements that way. So, but yeah, I mean, Europe is going to change with all of the energy concerns they have, and again, there's kind of a war happening. Shit's just gonna get fucking weird. Does that mean I think we should be supporting, or more specifically, like, should we be distracting from, as a good example, the woman from Italy? Let's look up her name really quickly. Let's do that, because I don't like not knowing this person's name. Italy Prime Minister? Is that? No. New chick. Something Giorgia Meloni. Okay, there we go. So with Meloni, the thing about Meloni is, at the end of the day, she has a lot of fascist rhetoric and tendencies in her profile, to say lack of a better term. But what does Sagar focus on? Sagar focuses on her economic populism, which, if there are 10 things on the table, and let's say 7 of them are pretty outright fascist and authoritarian, and then you pick the one that's, just kind of bring the prices down. If you've ever heard the phrase like make the trains run on time, these people always run on that stuff. They always start with, hey, we just want the country to function better. We just want to make sure that people are doing better. But like, none of that ever happens, does it? Like, we all understand this. Like, that never happened in Germany during the 30s. Like, they did a fraction of that, and then they rounded up and blamed the Jews for everything. So it's these sorts of trends that you have to watch out for. I'm fine with supporting mass movements, but you have to be more discerning about mass movements. Not just, it's a mass movement, therefore I support it, or it's a mass movement, it's not the elites, I support it. There's more to it than that. But yeah. Crystal. Hey, you better watch it. Kyle Kalinske will come after your ass with the with that broken leg of his. Stalker's wearing policy is not personally a fascist, but he definitely does apologetics for fascism, which is not great. I don't know if I'd outright call him a fascist, but it's not great. Haven't read too much about them. Said on policy, she has some okay ideas. She's pro-Ukraine, moderate on Euroscepticism, and for energy independence. If she has an okay response to immigration, I don't see much questionable about her. But I'd have to research. Yeah, I do need to look into her. I mean, I know from a person I used to know, from a former associate, I should say, who was from Italy. I know that the immigration politics there are pretty racialized and pretty aggressive, from what I understood, like the stories they would tell me, and kind of the way immigration like kind of manifests a lot of it, because a lot of it comes from northern Africa up into Italy, and there's just a lag. Really? Okay. Still good? Still good? I feel like we should be fine. At least my statistics on here says we're fine. Okay, let me know if that continues. But I'm back. You lagged. Oh, okay. That's weird. I don't have anything on my end that's saying that. That might be Twitch. But let me know if that continues. Whoa. Okay. Okay. Yeah, just let me know if that continues. But yeah, the Italians generally don't take super well from what I'm not gonna say generally, but there is an aspect of Italian society that really resents a lot of the immigration from Northern Africa and Africa more broadly. I'd have to look into it more. That's really anecdotal, but I know that the relationship there is a bit wonky. But anyway, let's shift into the next topic. Yeah. Let's get back to America, because why not? There we go. Yeah. Let's shift back into America. So, I don't know if you listen to rap. I actually really don't anymore. I listen to K-pop more than anything else nowadays. But either way, we are going to take a look at a big story, apparently. I saw this on Normie Reddit or something, wherever I ended up seeing this. I think I just popped up on my news. But yeah, we're gonna take a look at Ben here. Apparently he was complaining about Lizzo, I think. All right, so let's hear what Ben. Let's see. Actress was no, not this one. I don't want this one. Why was I here we go. Here we go. This is the one I wanted. At Ben. Okay. Can I just see the video? Is this like a... Why'd you retweet your own... You might as well be retweeting yourself, dude. Like... God. Is this the video I want?
Made the rounds, however, was for twerking, because it is the contrast. That's the whole... The first...
Okay. You know what? We're gonna go with the Daily Wire retweet, just because I at least know what they're talking about. Anyway, Ben Shapiro, my beloved cousin... whoa, that's a bit big. Well, actually, no, that's a bit big. We'll just do this for now. My beloved cousin apparently had a problem with Lizzo playing a flute, I guess. Let's see, twerking. It's vulgarization of the American history. Liberty of Congress is supposed to be a place. Preserve history, instruments, respect, and not a place to quote twerk with those instruments.
The reason the clip is viral is the contrast between a person twerking and the idea of an extraordinarily classy instrument, a historic instrument.
It's a flute,
that
dude.
Speaks to sort of the gentility of America's founders being brought into a context that is vulgar. It's the vulgarization.
You know, I might be a child, and you can call me a child if you want, but when he said genitality, I genuinely thought he meant that, like, the flute kind of seems like a dick. It'll be a minute before. Weird. Okay.
Of American history.
Ooh. 1 second. I have to do something. Very quickly.
Between a person's working
Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Had to just go fix something. Anyway, where were we? Right. Ben. All right, we're gonna start this over real quick. Sorry.
and the idea of an extraordinarily classy instrument, a historic instrument that speaks to sort of the gentility of
Right? Is nobody else thinking penis when he says genitality? I know sounds like genitalia to me. I'm sorry. Like, I know all the founding fathers are dicks, and one of them played a flute, which is, I mean, I can't fucking type today. Like, I don't know. Just kind of, maybe Ben is being a bit distracted by its long shaft and other things. Anyway, that's just what I thought. That's just my opinion. It's working. Glad to have you back, Pandora. I'm assuming that was on. That's weird. That had to have been a Twitch. I should probably check, shouldn't I? I don't. That's fine. I'm sure we're fine. Yeah, we're still streaming. It says. Okay, whatever. I know. I saw that too. He's copying my look, man. I had a beard last stream. Copying me, man. Anyway.
America's founders being brought into a context that is vulgar. It's
Actually,
the vulgarization.
no. This is. What is it? Do I have a GIF for this? No, show me the GIF. Show me the GIF, you bastards. Please just show me the goddamn GIF. I hate you, Pinterest. You're the worst. How do I zoom in for this? It's this. Look, I'm not good at technology. I hate how this shit always works. It's this. This is how I feel right now. Where's I believe I can't open this. Can you just open? What does H mean? No, I don't want your stupid page. I want your funny GIF. This is what I want. I want this funny GIF. Show me this funny GIF. There you go. That's how I feel. So you've copied my beard. Anyway, we're getting distracted. I'm getting distracted.
Of American history. Again, Lizzo did both, and only one of those clips went viral. And so if you notice that, then you're very, very bad.
They both went viral, dude.
Then this means that you're some sort of racist.
Like, they were both filmed.
Playing the flute or something.
One went slightly more than the other, or even more.
Instruments. By the way, I'd be similarly offended.
Who cares?
As a violinist, if there is a Stradivarius, somebody had a Strad, and that Strad was lent out to a musician who then proceeded to twerk on the Strad, I would also be insulted because it turns out that great art should not be degraded. Great art, American history, they should not be degraded by juxtaposition with vulgarity. That should not be a controversial position, but we've now reached the point where nearly everything is a controversial position.
God, dude, you're so triggered. Like, oh my God. More than anything, he's just, I can't help but just be like, how are you this triggered? See, this is also the thing. You know, Lizzo played some flute that was used or made or whatever by some fucking old ass founder. Who cares? Did she break it? No. Was it like altered in any way? No. Just played a flute, dude. Like, you're having such a conniption about a flute, about a instrument having music produced through it because somebody was doing something while they produced that music. And understand, this is also the exact same stuff that people would say about rock music. It's the exact same stuff people said about jazz, about everything. It's always the same. Ben Shapiro, the only difference is he has a problem with twerking. But like, I don't know if you guys have seen the Elvis movie, or I'm sure you know the stories of Elvis shaking his hips and shit. And what happened? People lost their fucking minds. Conservatives lost their fucking minds. There are people I still know, like I know, who still think that like rock music is demonic. It's fucking weird.
Literally everything.
Oh yeah, doesn't he have like a music thing? Okay, let's
Every
see.
day on this show, there's some clip that is taken that is utterly uncontroversial and then made into a thing on Twitter. Because we now live in a world where we do not have a shared reality. This was a point that was made by an account on Twitter called Wocal Distance. And he was saying that we don't have a shared reality because half the people saw this clip and they were offended by it, and half the people were like, woohoo, it's amazing. Okay, that shared reality has gone away on literally everything. And you have to understand that without that shared reality, we can't have political conversations. We can't have shared values. It's very difficult to see how you have a future as a country if you don't have some sort of shared value.
I don't know what this means. Like
the part that's kind of astonishing.
Like I always get this where it's like, oh, we don't have shared values. We don't have shared values. We don't have to. We don't have to agree. Like I don't get where this line comes from. Where it's like, oh, we must agree. No, we have to agree on like very few things, and it's called democracy and I don't know. Actually, there's probably a few, but you know, like this isn't one of those things that we need to share values on. Art, I don't have to have shared values with you on art. I just simply don't. Like,
to me on a personal level, is I don't understand why Lizzo would do that. Right? Lizzo is enough of a musician to understand the nature of historic musical pieces of art.
Oh, we're doing
and
this.
So
okay.
The degradation of that, like, why doesn't she personally have the respect for the instrument and a respect for the history enough not to twerk with it? I mean, and by the way, the left would have the same exact reaction if somebody took the Mona Lisa off the wall at the Louvre and then went and twerked with it at some sort of rock event. They would have exactly the same reaction.
Well, we'd all have a problem with that for the simple fact that you can't, like, the Mona Lisa has been preserved by like close in cacher, and like people, like, you can't take that out and about in the world because we've preserved it to a certain point. Like, an instrument doesn't degrade the same way like art, like paintings and shit does, but okay. Also, for the record, I wouldn't really care as long as it was like they rolled that shit out in the case that that like they keep it protected in, stood it up behind the guy in playing drums and played music or whatever the fuck. I wouldn't care. I'd be like, cool, it's fine.
Degradation of the past, degradation of great art is part and parcel of something that the deconstructionist left loves. They love the idea that great art doesn't exist, that all art is equivalent, that Robert Mapplethorpe's Piss Christ is actually a form of art. Right? Everything is
Pissed
art
Christ.
in the eye of the beholder.
I like
and
angry
that's what's
Jesus.
really going on here. And if you notice it, then they're like,
Not an
"Oh,
art
how dare
person,
you
to be
notice
clear.
it?" Well, if you hadn't made a big deal out of it, I wouldn't have noticed it. If you didn't think it was historic, if you didn't think it was important, you wouldn't have done it. It also demonstrates, by the way, just how much the sort of institutions of American government have been taken over by members of the woke left.
He did.
When
He
you have
absolutely did.
Members of the Library
And
of
Mellon
Congress are reaching
fucking
out to Lizzo
bodied
to
him
have her twerk
with
a
his
flute.
boulder shoulders.
That says something like the Library of Congress is supposed to be a place where you preserve historic instruments and respect them, not a place where you give it to people who are then going to twerk with those instruments on stage to the cheers of a gaggle of morons.
Okay, if you want an actual okay. Does anybody remember, if you want an actual example of what the hypocrisy Ben's talking about, it would be a good example would be Kim Kardashian recently wearing I think it's Marilyn Monroe's like dress or whatever that she got lent by I think it's Ripley's, whoever the fuck owns the dress. They lent it to her, right? Now, do I care if you wear Marilyn Monroe's dress? Not at all. It's a dress, it's fine. But the issue that not only most people, but also the left, who Ben thinks is hypocritical on this, the left had a problem with it because she destroyed it, because it was damaged after releasing it to her. So that's like, if you want to do the hypocrisy shame thing, use something that's actually accurate. I can actually show you a perfect example of the left being consistent on this. Not that when I say the left, that's going to be everybody, obviously, but Ben always likes to do this. And at the end of the day, like, dude, who cares? It will go back to being as preserved as it was before. And at the end of the day, also, Ben sees twerking and is like, no, that is not okay. Twerking is never okay. That is a form of dance. That's not okay. And again, it's just, we've been through this already, guys. Like, our society's been through the whole, you're not allowed to dance like this. You can only dance like this. You can only do the foxtrot. Not that it's fucking stupid. I don't think Ben's racist. I don't think he's not racist, but I don't think he's not racist either. Ben is not somebody who I think like hates hates black people or anything, but he doesn't like black culture, which he thinks is which he sees as essential to being black to a good degree, probably. But also, like, at the end of the day, like, you know, stuff that is there's a line where Ben respects black culture that is all based on his personal biases. That is, you know, it's kind of just like, oh, so the only things you're going to respect of black culture are the stuff that you personally think are okay, and everything else that, honestly, there are some aspects that are negative, but like, where you draw those lines really tells me, at least, like, where that person stands on race politics. But now we're gonna stick with the story, but we're gonna go to somebody on the Daily Wire, I bet you know who it is, who's way more mask off, and even in their YouTube description was way more mask off. I give you the one, the only, the very triggered Matt Walsh. All right, let's hear it. Matt Walsh, if you don't know, he is a genuinely awful person. So I apologize that I'm going to, what's the word? Subject you to a bit of his speaking. He also speaks, it's also rather pretentious, in my opinion. Very, I want to be daddy to everybody energy. But anyway, yeah, the segment is actually just called Degenerate Weird. Can you see that? Either way, it says Degenerate Weirdo in see-through onesie defiles priceless historical artifact. So that's where he's coming from. Ben Shapiro, like, I understand this is also what, like, something that Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro kind of gets away with a bit, is Ben is probably less racist than Matt Walsh. But Ben is fine with hosting Matt Walsh and giving Matt Walsh, somebody who is more open about his racism and what's it called? And his bigotry than Ben is. So to me, that also speaks volumes of Ben's politics. It's one thing to disagree with some of the behaviors of African American community, but you have to be careful to actually destructive behaviors and not overgeneralize. Exactly. Also, make sure you distinguish the prominent culture with all about. Yeah, and I don't think. I mean, when you say stuff like rap isn't music, that just tells me, like, that's a pretty. You've either A, not done the homework, you've never listened to the music, or B, I think you kind of have a problem with that. That's. Yeah, Ben said some wacky shit in the past, and he also does a lot of it through dog whistles and shit. But let's listen to somebody who needs no whistles and no dogs.
The world with greater clarity, things start to make some kind of sense once you realize and accept 2 points about the elites who run this country, our betters, as they see themselves anyway. One is that
elites. Do I need to say it? Do I need to say what the elite thing is? I don't think I do. It's the Jews.
They hate you and everything you stand for and everything you believe.
God,
this
imagine
cannot be
this
stressed
is
enough.
what you hear.
It's not a very pleasant thing to think about,
all
but it's
the
the
time.
truth. It shouldn't be a breaking news bulletin either. I mean, after all, they're not exactly trying to hide it. They despise you, your family, your ancestors, on down the line. The second point is
Jeez,
that they
man,
are
be more
both,
triggered.
petty and creative. So they'll take
Golly.
advantage of every opportunity to humiliate and demoralize you.
So this is also what I mean. He's not being specific, and he just says they the entire time. There's the elites, and then there's the people under the elites, who the elites have either educated to hate you, educated to, you know, whatever. Who do we think he's talking about? Now, one might say he's not saying he's talking about anybody specific, but if we know conservative history and how conservative media works, we know for the most part he is talking about liberal whites and people of color, generally. I'm okay with making that generalization for Matt Walsh. He's said enough deplorable shit. Like, I would agree with you, but I also don't really think I actually disagree with that. I think he's, I don't know if he himself is like super anti-Semitic, but he's perfectly fine with using that kind of language, which is good enough for me. I don't give a shit what his personal what, you know, if he personally doesn't like the Jews. At the end of the day, he perpetuates that that stereotype and perpetuates that rhetoric. So you know, the outcome's more important to me than his personal beliefs, I should also say.
And they'll see such opportunities in situations that wouldn't have even occurred to you. Okay, the pettier, the better, as far as they're concerned.
Sure.
And with these 2 points,
God, so
you
much
can begin to make
narrativization,
sense
too.
of a headline that, if you didn't know any better, you'd think was some kind of drunken Mad Lib. But here it is from CNN.
Is it really?
Lizzo performs on stage with James Madison's 200-year-old crystal flute.
Cool.
That's exactly what happened. Set up initially by a tweet from Carla Hayden of the Library of Congress. She posted, quote, "The Library of Congress has the largest flute collection in the world with more than 1,800. It includes President James Madison's 1813 crystal flute. Lizzo, we would love for you to come see it and even play a couple when you're in D.C. next week. Like your song, they are good as hell. Winky face emoji." Now, it would be bad enough that
the winky face emoji is the worst thing about that tweet.
Using emojis and the phrase "good as hell" in
Oh my
communications
god,
from-
I can't believe he actually said I was making a joke. But he actually had a problem with the emoji part. God, this guy. I swear, like, okay, we're just keep going.
official government accounts. But they took it many steps further. A few days later, official representatives from the Library of Congress, along with Secret Service, came up on stage during a Lizzo concert in D.C., handed her the priceless historical artifact, and let her do this with it. Let's watch it together. Okay, so there they are. Library of Congress, they hand her the flute. No big deal. If she drops it, just shatters and nothing to worry about there. She's in her see-through onesie. She's got the thong on.
Conservative Christians overall, especially if you talk to evangelicals, generally are very supportive of Israel because they want like the rapture and shit. So in that case they are. But also you have to remember, in the rapture, like evangelicals who are very supportive of Israel, they want the rapture. Like the Jews all die during the rapture. So it is like, it's one of those things where like they're kind of rooting for a group to be exterminated. So it's, you know, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, well, you support Israel and you're not anti-Semitic, but thing you want it to lead to is the like decimation of the Jewish population. So it's a bit weird. But yeah, I mean, again, I don't, being vague, like I have a real problem with people being vague because it leaves you open to kind of whatever your audience is thinking, and conservative audiences tend to, you know, they don't say Jew, but you know, I mean, that's kind of what they angle towards, and they only really need a few pushes is mainly the problem. But vague language, I don't appreciate vague language. Just say what the fuck you're gonna say with your chest. That's all I ask of people.
This crystal is like playing out of a wine glass.
Okay.
Also,
Let's see-
where
let's see
did
this
James
performance.
Madison
Is
get
she
a
gonna- is she
crystal
gonna
flute
perform a
back
beautiful-
in 17 whatever the fuck?
Yep. And there's the twerking.
Wait.
Oh, she's raising it in the air. You know, again, drop it, no big deal.
Wait. Matt is a Catholic, not an evangelical. I went to Catholic school, so me and him would have that in common. Not evangelical is not as this, but probably Judeo-Christian. Yeah, and that's political bullshit. That's like a entire political what's the word, campaign to kind of tie Judeo-Christian Judaism and Christian values to like kind of forward that pro-Israel stuff like that. Like Judeo-Christian values were not a thing before I think like the 70s. Either way, Pandora, you're distracting me, which I appreciate that. I appreciate you talking about it. But wait a minute. I need to see that twerk again. That was
perform a beautiful.
the most stealth twerk I've ever seen in my life. All right, she plays a note. Technically plays like 2 notes back to back and shakes
There's the twerk.
her thighs.
Oh, she's raising it in the air.
And
again, drop it, no big deal.
I mean, if she did drop it, I think that would be bad. Wow. Imagine being that triggered by that. I want everyone. Okay. You know what? I'm going to do something. Hopefully, it's going to live on the internet. So, understand. This is what we all know what twerking looks like. This is what Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro are upset about. You see? 1 second. Oh, I'm gonna move this chair out of the fucking way. No, my water. Okay, it didn't open. Who cares? This is, guys, this is what he was upset about. Like, I want you, look at these meaty thighs. That's it. This is what she is shaking her lower body for fuck's sake. That's not even twerking from most fucking, like, definitions of what a twerk for. That was like a stealth twerk. Fuck's sake. Jesus. God damn, these people talk like I remember. Sorry, I need water. That took a lot of energy. That was all my fitness for the week right there. God, twerking's hard. Like, I don't know how you get that upset. I don't know how you get that upset about something. That was nothing. That was nothing. I could hold this in my hand and have done that, and that would have been like more dangerous. Like, Jesus. God, you guys are so triggered. And again, understand that from that little thing, he got to degenerate weirdo in see-through onesie. So understand that. Like, he got all the way to degenerate weirdo from that. You know? And of course he's like, oh, like, raise it up. Oh, drop it. Who cares? I'm like, what? Like, what? God, like obviously she's like grasping it with her full. It's just, but you can't with these people. You know, if you like hand something with one hand, they'll criticize you for not doing it with two. If you, whatever it is, if she had dropped it, I could understand I could understand outrage if she dropped it, but she didn't, and she barely shook. She shook as much as one does when they hold a fucking rumble packed PS2 controller. Like, okay, somehow I got triggered by him getting triggered, but that was really fucking annoying. So no, I wouldn't say Matt is pretty Catholic. No. Majority of Catholic and Christians are not anti-Semitic. Say anti-racist, but that's I appreciate you being fair, Pandora. I don't want to be fair. I like fuck this guy. I'm not gonna be fair to him. Yeah, I don't get Matt's house in Detroit. Yeah, it's like fuck. Like, that's fucking. Ugh. Okay, that's. I don't think he goes for very long about it.
Yeah, okay. This is actually, they've done studies on this, and if you watch a Lizzo video, it's scientifically guaranteed that within 30 seconds of when the video starts, she will be twerking. So there is no footage of her.
Well, if you're telling me that, I now feel like I haven't missed out on watching every Lizzo video. If that's the quality of twerk, then boy howdy, have I not missed out at all.
Lasts longer than 30 seconds where she's not twerking. Now, to make sure that we have the quote correct for the historical record, Lizzo said, "I just twerked and played James Madison's flute from the 1800s." And that she did.
Whoa.
And needless to say, there were many members of the media attending this concert, and they couldn't stop gushing about the beauty and power and historical significance of what they just witnessed. Now, in fairness, that is how they react to literally everything Lizzo does or says. If they
To be honest, I would say that they're overselling it. It was just fine. I feel like, to be perfectly honest, if you're going to twerk with James Madison's old ass crystal flute, I'm going to give it to Cardi B and let her just go the fuck off. That's what I want to say. Just saying.
I saw her eating waffles for breakfast, which I'm sure she does quite frequently. They would declare it the most brave and inspirational waffle-related event they'd ever witnessed. If Lizzo were to then...
Oh, yeah, he's a big authoritarian fascist.
They would tearfully exclaim
Matt is
that her belch sounded like the choirs of
I'm fine
angels
with saying that.
singing from on high.
I appreciate your fairness, Pandora, but I'm fine with saying that.
Because Lizzo is obese, she's female, she's black, which means that everything she does is...
Man, imagine how, angry, how, I wish we had, a blood pressure monitor strapped to Matt so we could see each spike every time he said, obese, spike, female, spike, black, spike.
By default...
That's what we really need.
Heroic and
wonderful. Do it, Daily Wire.
Any criticism by default is automatically racist and sexist and body shaming on top of it. So, with that in mind, Lizzo twerking in a glittery thong while manhandling a historic artifact.
Manhandling. Imagine thinking holding something, playing it and then holding it again and raising it above your head or something is manhandling. Okay. That's manhandling. Okay then.
Really have no choice but to crown such a moment as the greatest achievement of all time, the culmination of human history, the most spectacular expression of humanity's potential. Just a couple of
Did anybody say that?
Fox DC reporter Sierra Fox tweeted, "His choice but to crown such a moment as the greatest achievement of all time, the culmination."
Did
of human
anybody
history,
say
the most
this?
Spectacular expression of humanity's potential. Just a
this is the thing. Nobody said that.
Fox DC reporter Sierra Fox tweeted, "History is freaking cool. Of course, it's the nation's capital, so Secret Service..."
Pandora, I will answer that at the end of the segment.
Because she's the first ever to play President James Madison's 1813 crystal flute, courtesy of Library of Congress. Super amazing to witness. Then media executive Indira Lakshmanan chimed in with this.
Oh my God,
Joyful
blood
and
pressure spike right now.
Superstar Lizzo played DC tonight. Most unexpected moment, Library of Congress loaned her President James Madison's 1813 crystal flute to play on stage, making her the first person to do so. She thanked Library of Congress for preserving history and making it cool. And many other tweets and headlines just like that.
Okay.
Now, we should note here that Lizzo is indeed a classically trained flautist, as her defenders have pointed out. She is capable of respectfully and skillfully playing flute. But that's not what the Library of Congress arranged in this case, or what happened on stage.
Okay.
The fact that she's in reality, a talented musician, at least when it comes to the flute, just makes her
remember that, at least when it comes to the flute. Any of the other stuff you can associate to African American culture, not interested. Only can be talented in the thing that he, and I'm willing to bet this, associates with more Caucasian culture. Just remember that. It's all these little things why I say the things I say about Matt Walsh, and why I make the assessments of what he at the very least communicates.
Career, and especially the incident on stage, all the more outrageous and gross. There's another video floating around of her playing the flute seriously while fully clothed, that I guess happened before this or after, I don't know. They could have simply left it at that, and few would complain. But instead, they chose to
still
have
complain,
Lizzo
Matt.
in her see-through thong make a grotesque mockery of a priceless crystal artifact with deep ties to American history. Why? I mean, what's the point? It's such a weird and petty thing to do, isn't it?
What's petty about it?
Well,
like,
yes, exactly.
okay, let's.
The pettiness is pointed and intentional, as always.
Okay.
This is the game.
Right.
Okay. They do something absurd and bizarre and degrading, and then they wait for the reaction that they know is coming, and that's why they did it. And then they accuse the other side of being
Wait,
petty
wait,
and
whoa. So, first of all, Matt, I really, really, really hate to break it to you, but Lizzo, before this moment, probably had no idea who you were. Let's just get that clear. Lizzo, I'm willing to bet. First of all, Library of Congress reached out to them. But also, at the end of the day, like places like the Library of Congress, like Museum, they want celebrities, they want people to come to their museums, come to their exhibitions, and promote those, specifically celebrities and like popular musicians, because it's good marketing for them and because it modernizes something that most younger people wouldn't be interested in. This is a tale as old as time. I really am tired, if nothing else, of conservatives constantly thinking everybody does everything for them or for an interaction for them. I am perfectly fine with saying, as a fact, Lizzo did not have the Daily Wire's feed or Ben Shapiro's thoughts or Matt Walsh's concerns on her mind when she played a historical flute. Because nobody was. Nobody was thinking about you. But you were so upset about it, and your life is centered around constantly being targeted and attacked and everything else, that everything always feels like it's coming for you. That is my issue with guys like Matt Walsh. That is my issues with conservatives broadly today, is that it's always somebody attacking them. Always we're the victim of something or whatever it is. It's a constant victim complex that I, quite frankly, am tired of. And I've lived around it a lot of my life. I grew up with my dad, who's very conservative. I had to listen to conservative radio a lot of my upbringing. And it's just whining incessantly. It's always, and he said nothing. Understand, he has done nothing but like thrown ad hobs the whole time and made no argument. Just that it's bad because it's bad, it's degenerate because it's degenerate, it's grotesque because it's grotesque. Nothing, no substantiation of any kind of argument. That is as deep as it goes. His feelings were hurt by the fact that somebody played a flute. Like, that's it.
So they do the thing, the petty, trivial thing, and then if we notice it, we are the petty, trivial people.
Yes, yes.
What's more, they themselves will then hail this degrading display. They'll declare it to be historic and important and amazing.
It's fine. It's a tweet.
But then
he didn't put it in a museum.
Criticizes it on the grounds that they shouldn't care about it because it's unimportant.
You're just kind of a loser. I mock you because you're just a loser, Matt.
It doesn't make any sense, but this is the mind game. And it puts us in a bind, quite by design. Because if we register our protest, if we say anything,
it's
we
always
say,
us versus
please
them.
don't do that. We will have given them the attention they want, and in a sense, you might say, walked right into the trap. But if we say nothing at all, if we simply accept, for instance, that invaluable pieces of American history can be used as stage props by morbidly obese, half-naked pop stars, then we will have also given them what they want.
I have not watched. I don't even know if it's out yet, but I've heard that. I've heard that
acquiescence,
that critique,
our submission.
I've heard that's.
But either way, they claim victory, which of course is demoralizing. And in the end, ultimately, demoralization is the point. So what the elites want to express when it comes down to it, whether it's by tearing down statues
the elites.
or taking names off of schools or doing anything else.
It's not so much what I think he's thinking about. When he says the elites, keep in mind who he's talking to and what you think their response is going to be, because that's why you do that. Is you just say something broad and let your audience kind of, you know, choose their own adventure. For, you know, it'll be a lot of different answers, but I can almost guarantee you there will be a plurality of answers.
They do, or having a weirdo in a onesie twerk with James Madison's flute, whatever it is, what they want to get across is that nothing you care about has value. Your heritage and history are meaningless. Your culture and traditions are worthless. They will tell you what has value, what you should see as important, what should matter to you. This is what a ruling force does to a conquered people.
There it is. There it is. This is what I mean. Because at the end of the day, to them, they're a conquered people. So we'll go over this, Pandora. I'll actually answer your question about how I would define fascism. But no, that is the bedrock in which conservative media is built on. It is not just cultural disagreement. It is not just political disagreement. This is war. These people have conquered us. We are, we're a conquered people. They're trying to demoralize us. They use this kind of language because they know that that's how, like, that will get their audience to be more riled up, through that kind of language. So, I mean, it's, besides just being kind of gross, it's, whoa, what the hell just happened? Anyway, besides just being kind of gross, we're going to transition to me while I fix that. Besides being just kind of gross, it's also how they build their movement. They've built their movement on being a revolting force against this tide, this powerful tide of leftism and liberalism. And that's why their audience, which we're going to take a look at in a little bit, is so ready, and why they say stuff like civil war, why they hoard guns and, do the whole like come and get them, all that sort of stuff. That's why they talk like that, because they've been told, they've been mentally conscripted into this war in their heads. Right? Lizzo just goes out there, plays a flute from the thing. She was in DC. She plays flute. She's like famous for playing flute. Library of Congress has a bunch of flutes. They were like, hey, do you want to play one? Because it'd be, it might get some more traffic at the Library of Congress. It'd just be kind of a cool moment, whatever it is. And this guy turned it into another battlefield. And specifically, if you notice, he picks a battlefield, and he picks a battle that was already fought and lost. There's nothing you can do about it. She already played it. There's nothing you can do about it. And there's a reason why they picked that. They picked that so that their audience feels powerless, so that his audience feels like the war is already almost lost. And that drives people, if you've ever if you during wartime, or I'll use a more probably relatable, at least to me. If you've ever played like any like FPS or any video games, that I play Siege a lot. I'll use Siege as my solid example. If you're down 3-1, next game other team wins, that final round, you are going to be so fucking sweaty, and you are going to just fucking try so hard. You're gonna do window peeks, you're gonna do runouts, you're gonna do everything you can. And that's what these guys want from their audience. They want desperation from them. But yeah, sorry, went on a bit of a speech there. I didn't mean to, but shit just really annoys me. Anyway, let's get back to the last little bit.
It tears down and desecrates everything they hold dear. And it will have achieved its final end,
which is
when you submit to the gaslighting and you finally agree that, well, these things don't actually matter.
It's fine.
When they've claimed your mental and spiritual compliance, then they've really won. Which is why we should never submit.
And there it is. Like this is war talk, quite frankly. This is war talk. This is wartime speeches. That's what they push onto their audience is wartime speeches. And you know, I've played Fortnite, but I'm not the biggest first person shooter. Yeah, I am, but I also, middle school, a lot of Call of Duty. I'm not like a crazy Call of Duty player. Like I'm not amazing or anything, but you understand. Like at Fortnite when it's down to, I play PUBG, when you're down to like those few, you're down to like single digits, you start getting desperate and you start taking bigger risks, and that's the mindset they want them in, is next round is your loss, you need to hold the ground and come, that's the mindset they want. And if you've seen players in that mindset, they get pretty frantic. And imagine what that does to people's brains when that's where they are, like 17 hours out of the day, looking for the next woke thing to get upset about. So, you can imagine how on edge people have, like a lot of these conservative viewers are on. Jesus. Anyway, also, yeah, he did that. I personally think his audience leads with Hollywood. Yeah, Hollywood Democratic politicians in Silicon Valley, but he should be more specific to avoid conspiratorial language. I think the goal is to not be specific, because if you ask me, I'm assuming his audience would say a combination of all three of those. But, again, Hollywood elites is a Jewish dog whistle. Democratic politicians isn't, but also there's the whole QAnon stuff with Democratic politicians. So, that's a bit dicey. I wouldn't say that's like the JQ or anything, but like it's getting up there. Silicon Valley, I'm not sure, because they tend to, I find conservatives really wax and wane on the Silicon Valley stuff because they don't like guys like Zuckerberg, but they fucking love Elon Musk. So there's a lot of when they want to, it's bad. When they don't, it's a lot of pick and choosing there. Tim Pool, part Daily Wire. As far as I know, he's not, unless that has changed, in which case, let's find out. Let's see. Tim Pool. Doesn't look like it. I know he's not. He has like his own thing, but I don't think he has Daily Wire. Yeah. What the hell? Oh, this is just an article. No. He's not part of their network. I mean, he's just really a conservative. Another conservative YouTuber. But Tim Pool, kinda. I would love to talk to Tim Pool. He seems like a kind of a dumb fuck. But he also seems to kind of pick his information. So Georgia Maloney has used very inflammatory. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Yeah, a lot of them. Anyway, so let's see, what should we, time is it? So just let you know, this stream is going to go, I'm thinking I can probably go another 20 minutes. I have my real life job, which for anybody who isn't following, I'd appreciate you do that, so this can be my real life job, so I can do this every day instead of run out to do what I have to do. Let's see, do we want to do Trump fans or do we want to do Crowder? Pandora, if you have a preference, I will delegate it to you, since I think you're the only one here, which I'm totally appreciative of. But would you rather hear about, I guess Crowder was advocating rape, which is something, or thinks he's on the left. I don't think he thinks he's on the left anymore. I think he did. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't watched a lot of his older content, so it's hard to say, but he certainly isn't now. And even when he was saying he was on the left, he wasn't. He was mostly pushing conservative talking points. So but yeah. So we have Crowder's rape apology, apparently. That's what I've heard about it. Or we can laugh at some Trump MAGA fans. Let me know what you'd kind of prefer. You're the one who this show is for, so let me know. I'm gonna get some water. And yeah. All right, Trump news. Let's go. All right, so I'm going to second save this for all right. We'll say it. We'll do Crowder next stream, I think. All right, let's take a look. All right, so we're gonna take a look at some. Let's see what some Trump fans think of migrants. Should be fun. We got this one, and then we got. Actually, I want to do this one first. How long is this? Actually, it's only 3 minutes. Let's go through this one first. Let's go in order. Let's just go in order.
Close our border back up, make America great again like you did before.
God, these people are in a cult.
Here's that.
Okay. So let me lead into this. TYT Rebel headquarters, they go out to these Trump rallies. They ask people questions. They just respond whatever the fuck, they respond. Usually they say weird shit or cringe shit. I think they're just asking about migrants. I'm assuming about the recent Martha's Vineyard incident. Yeah, I got like a meme at like 3 a.m. in the morning, my dad's time, about the migrant Martha Vineyard stuff. So that was fun. But yeah, let's hear what everyone, obviously everyone always does the open border. We don't have an open border now. It's not, I don't know if you've ever been to the border, but there's like a whole line and shit.
DeSantis is the governor of Florida.
Oh, the one deporting. Yeah, I'll vote for him.
You know,
Okay, let's.
you support Ron DeSantis? What do you think of him?
Here's that.
Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida.
Seriously?
Oh, the one deporting. Yeah, I'll vote for him.
Wow.
You know that he.
Imagine
yeah,
that the only thing you know about somebody is that they've deported some folks, and you're like, that's all you had to say, Chief. You're deporting people. That's all you had to say.
And he flew them to Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts. You like that?
I was thinking of that months before they did it. And they did it.
Damn, what a
And
fucking
they did it.
genius.
I applaud him for doing that because if Florida and Texas or any other southern countries and southern borders and everything, if they're getting inundated with migrants who come from other countries, might as well share the wealth.
They should put them at the
Right.
White Dove.
Wait. So, we're just gonna move on. I don't.
Not on the side road, right there at the White House. Cause they got what, 200 rooms in there? They got plenty of room to.
So just put the migrants in the White House.
No, send them back.
What's so bad about the migrants?
Ooh.
Cartel, drugs, fentanyl coming in.
Cartel, drugs. So this is what we looked at earlier with Matt Walsh, that kind of like wartime propaganda language. This is what it leads to. Is people, when you ask them, somebody has come to this country seeking asylum from wherever it is that they are, or immigrating legally, even though these people would say, but they haven't distinguished. But we'll assume they mean the people who came into Florida, right? These are people who come from desperate positions in terms of their country's state, and are coming here for refuge and some kind of possibility to keep their families fed, keep their families safe, yada. And what does she say? Immediately, it's they're part of a cartel, even though most of them are running from cartels. They're bringing drugs, even though, again, reference point number one, and fentanyl. That's it. Just fentanyl existing. Again, it's more drug. It's just they've been told that all these people are like traffickers. So, it's like, oh, well, I have like kids with me. My kids I just want to go somewhere that's safe. And they go, nope, you and your kids are probably drug dealers. We don't want you here. Get out. That's as deep as it gets for them.
And Biden's put us in hell.
It aggravates me that they come
And it aggravates her to hell. Like, she sees brown people show up in you know, in desperate straits, and the idea that we would, well, first of all, we have a legal system for asylum, so that, you know, we have a legal system that says we'll hear people out if they say they're in danger or whatever that thing might be. But to her, she's like, no, I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. I just don't want you here. That's I don't think I need to say it.
Any shots, they're just flying over. They don't check them for anything. And as American citizens flying over the country, they don't have. It aggravates me that they come into the country. They don't have any shots. They're just
because medicine does not exist anywhere else.
for anything. And as American citizens, everybody in the country had to get a shot for the coronavirus.
Sure.
Did you get a COVID vaccine?
One.
You didn't get the booster?
No.
But I'm
Okay.
glad it's a problem that people don't get their shots.
Well, I'm okay. Everybody I'm.
Well, do I even need to say it? Do I need to say it? She's upset. So under her logic, she's upset because she doesn't know. Well, she assumes that people aren't checked for vaccines coming into this country. But if you asked her about vaccines, if you think that people should be compelled or forced to get them, she would say no. She would say, nope, my body, my choice, whatever nonsense, right? So it's like, wait, so do you don't care when it's you care when it's others, but you still don't believe in. I thought vaccines didn't work. So it's these people hold simultaneous thoughts that are contradictory to each other all the time.
Around all the time, they're okay. So obviously I don't have it. Otherwise, you're going to get sick.
Well, what about the immigrants then who are coming in without their shots? And if they're okay, shouldn't we just let them do their thing?
We don't know. They didn't.
But how do I know if you don't have your shot? Like, again, it's always, well, we don't know about them. I don't know about you. What about you? Well, I'm an American, so yeah, it's
any shots at all. They weren't checked to see if they had any diseases or illnesses from the countries they came from.
What does she think? What does she think?
Spain.
Spain. Yes, all disease-ridden Spain. You're right. Third world country, Spain. Ay. These people.
If Donald Trump doesn't run, you
like, I shouldn't have to say it. I like, it feels like low-hanging fruit, but like, come on, like, can't make this shit up.
DeSantis?
I love DeSantis.
How come? What about DeSantis? What's
He cares
Fucking
about
love DeSantis.
us. First thing that's the most important.
This lady here. Okay, so on like a scale of like 1 to 10, how many shots of like Everclear has this woman had? I'm gonna guess like 2.
Important is our country.
Oh yeah.
Not sending money to other countries.
He sent those migrants from Texas to Martha's Vineyard.
I loved it. I've
Why?
been there.
You've been to Martha's Vineyard?
Yes, I have.
It's a nice place to go.
Yes, it is.
Ah.
I wish they had stayed there because it's a sanctuary city and they're supposed to welcome everybody.
Is that how sanctuary cities work? We just dump people without any warning in places that say that they are welcoming to migrants, but obviously there's only so much space and there's like migrational infrastructure. You know, this is always the like, oh, well, if you like immigrants so much, why don't you just take them? It's like, well, that's not really that's not really how that works. It's, you know, we're open to people coming here and living here if there's not like a mass number of them being dumped without like some kind of communication. Also, sanctuary cities are not places where we say, hey, if you have people that you don't want, please send them to us. No, sanctuary cities are cities where they allow people, 1 second. Anyway, where they want people to immigrate there out of choice, mind you, not being tricked, not being forced. But like, that's the kind of like the thing that oh my god, that's you know, kind of like choosing to be there is a key part of sanctuary cities' beliefs on immigration for the most part. This is a year old, but if you want to hear serious wartime far right language, pretty short.
Despite hundreds of people.
All right, we will check that out actually.
streaming in here and all their money is going towards them. It's not good.
I hope they do more and more.
You want all the migrants taken to Martha's Vineyard.
All the migrants taken to Martha's
Because
Vineyard.
there's something bad about the migrants.
They don't belong here. They haven't come here legally. It's against the law. I mean, we don't have any laws anymore.
Fun fact. Not true. Because there's called asylum laws. They're created specifically for people who are in danger and are fleeing their countries. And they have like a court, they plead their case, and we either say, sure, you can stay, or no, sorry, you got to go back. And what these people, and this is the problem, these people have been propagandized to enough that they don't even know that system exists, even though that's the system they want. What they want is a system that hears people and goes out or in, right? That's what any reasonable person would want. But that's not what they want. They live in a world where there is no system, and they just want them to come in and us to round them up and kick them all out. That's what they all want, and it's pretty gross. But also, it's what happens when you're not educated about how your systems work in your own country. You're just told, you're just propagandized to by the media that you consume, and you're told like, no, there's nothing to stop these people from getting in, when they're perfectly fine. We have a system. Some people stay, some people go. Do you want to know what the biggest what's the word I'm looking for? Cause of illegal immigration is? And these people probably know this exists, but they probably don't think that this is the main way. And it's people immigrate here, get work visas, and then overstay their visas. That's how. They come in the legal way, and they just stay, and they just overstay. That's how. Immigration and like from the right wing has always been characterized. I think Trump did this as an invasion, as people just climbing over, just fucking doing, just invading by foot, digging ditches under the fucking ground to create tunnels so they can dig back up to get in, and boom, they're suddenly here. That's not how it works. You might it's just not. People get here, they get on boats, and then they go and seek asylum, and then if their claim for safety is valid, we keep them here. If we don't, we send them back to wherever it is they're, usually some people get sent to Mexico, some people get sent back to their countries. But that's how the system works, and these people don't know that, and I really worry sometimes that it wouldn't matter if they did. But
What about the documents, though, that he took with him to Mar-a-Lago, the classified documents, the nuclear secrets? Why would he do that?
I think whatever he had there, he had the right to take.
yes, as usual, they've broken the law. That's my problem. Hey, this other person broke the law. This person that you support broke the law. Every excuse.
He's not a stupid man. He wouldn't leave them there. I mean, out. You know what I mean? Like.
And he did a lot for the 4 years he was in there, and everybody was against him and plotted against him the whole time, and he got a lot done.
What was
Plot.
your favorite thing that he did?
Notice that plot.
Closing
That's
the border is important.
That's key. It's always a plot.
Today they said they nixed that idea, said he messed up the border, and it's not true at all. They're lying through their teeth.
Well, weren't there some portions of the border that he never finished?
That wasn't his fault. He didn't have time to.
Again, this is the thing with conservatives. They're like, what's the thing he did? He did this. It was great. And then it's like, well, he didn't really finish it, did he? It's like, well, that's not his fault. And it's like, well, unfortunately for a lot of these people, Trump, every time Trump does something, it's amazing. He's fighting the Democrats. He's fighting the elites. He's unbeatable. And every time he doesn't, it's because they plotted against him, because they stopped him, because he didn't have enough support, or the Republican Party didn't support him, whatever it is. There's always an excuse. It's a cult. It's a cult. It's a cult. All right. Cool. And here, I'm gonna save this. We're gonna save this for next time. And we're gonna start with that, and then maybe we won't start with it. I'm not gonna promise that. I'm sorry, Pandora. I can't promise that. But I will watch that. We will watch that on here. and then we'll do Crowder next time. We'll get this done, and then I gotta run. But let's get this last one in.
I adore Trump, and I don't care what you think.
I definitely believe you.
Of other presidents.
He's number one.
Mm.
Ahead of Franklin Roosevelt, who won World War II, ahead of Abe Lincoln, who won the Civil War and freed the slaves.
Well, those are both things that they really, really strongly support.
Number one.
He ranks up on the top. Right now, he's number one.
I think he was the best, and I think Biden is the worst.
Trump was better than Franklin Roosevelt, who won World War II, better than Abraham Lincoln, who won the Civil War and kept the country together and freed the slaves.
That was all great and good, but this is now, and we're going through.
You know what? I will. Whoa. What just happened? That's what the fuck? God, it's still pretty hot in here. What the hell?
Different times.
Twitch down?